And so if we learn to speak to ourselves instead of listen to the thoughts in our heads, then we actually can become great self-managers, and we can learn to make our next wise move. We can learn to make the next wise move instead of just any move. All right, Facebook, friends, and family, it's time for the hands-free drive to work. Listen, I actually designed this for my own team, the teams that I lead, but then a couple of people outside of my industries even found out that we were doing this from the medical world and education as well. And they're like, hey, will you send this to us on a daily basis or a weekly basis? And so we started putting these out. And then I shared a few on Facebook with you guys, and then started getting some really encouraging, supportive messages. And a lot of you asked for it as well. So this is the hands-free drive to work. It was actually intended so that we can keep our hands on the wheel as we steer ourselves from home to work, so that ultimately we can have a conversation about steering ourselves well once we get there. Self-management is the topic that we talk about every morning. Is how do we steer ourselves? Because listen, nobody's looking over your shoulder telling you what to do at every moment. And so you have to be, and I have to be, great self-managers. We have to be able to lead ourselves well. Every leadership book out there says you'll never learn to lead others until you first learn to lead yourself. And so we said that self-management is about learning to make our next wise move. It's very much like what I've been doing for the last 12 years, looking into the future in risk management, saying, here are the possible futures, here are the variables that we know, here are the things that we don't know, and then what do we do today? How do we make our next wise move? Obviously, it's very timely in our world right now to be able to think through what do we do to make our next wise move. We are in very serious and complicated situations, whether you're in the education industry, whether you're in the sales world, whether you're in the medical field. All of these areas, we need to know how to make our next wise move. And so that's what we've been talking about. And so this is not good marketing, but I'm sneaking it. This is actually my book, Last to Least. I actually wrote this so that we can know how to make our next wise move. And it's all about self-management. How do we manage ourselves? And that's what we've been talking about, in the hands-free drive to work. And so here's a quick one. It's going to be a little shorter since we're doing it just for Facebook. But today, we think about three questions when we're managing ourselves. One is, what is the guiding purpose of my work? 2, who achieves that purpose? 3, how do they do it? And number 3 is what everybody says. Listen, go to that. Tell me how to do it. Just tell me what to do, and I'll go out and do it. But the problem is we often know how to think. We know what to do. The problem is we just don't act. And so we need this thing in the middle to help us decide differently. And that's why the whole process matters. That's why the whole book matters. That's why you have to take all of that into account. But today, just real quick, with everything that's going on in the world right now, what's one thing that we can do to guide ourselves or steer ourselves well? And this is just, we manage ourselves instead of being managed by ourselves. We manage ourselves instead of being managed by ourselves. And really, you think about this, self-talk is something that you'll see. If you Google self-talk, you'll see how self-talk actually is the thing that guides our actions a lot of times. The way we speak to ourselves, the way we hear ourselves, really guides our next steps a lot of times. And so if we learn to speak to ourselves instead of listen to the thoughts in our heads, then we actually can become great self-managers, and we can learn to make our next wise move. We can learn to make the next wise move instead of just any move. You with me? We can learn to make the next wise move instead of just any move. And so what we do is when we hear the negative self-talk, instead of listening to that, we actually start to tell ourselves what's true. Instead of listening to negative thoughts, we actually begin to tell ourselves what's true. And really, when you do that, this is the result. The result of that is that you become not only trustworthy, but you become trustable. Trustworthy is a choice. We absolutely choose, are we going to be trustworthy or not? Am I going to do what I say I'm going to do? Am I going to make sure that when I'm educating a student, I give them the best tools? Or am I just going to check off the box to say I got through the job? If I'm a physician, if I'm a nurse, if I'm in the healthcare world right now, am I going to make sure I just got through the job? Or am I actually going to do what I promised to do? And I'm going to use every tool in my belt to make sure that the people that I serve are well taken care of, that the community I serve is well taken care of. Am I going to do that, or am I just going to check off the box saying, I did my job today? All of us have to ask ourselves that question. Are we going to be trustworthy? But number two is we have to be trustable. The most trustworthy people in the world cannot ever be able to make an impact if they're not trusted by their customers, clients, patients. We have to actually have people put their trust in us, even if we are actually trustworthy. And so trustable is just the way we are able to communicate that. And so no matter what industry we're in, we not only need to be trustworthy, but we need to be trustable. And if we begin to manage ourselves, we steer ourselves, instead of allowing those negative thoughts to steer us, then what happens is now when we're in a situation where people need to hear something, or we're in a situation where we actually have help to give, we give it. We don't worry about how it makes us look, or how people are, what are they thinking about me? Do they think I'm smart? Do they think I'm saying the right thing? No, we actually just meet the needs of those around us. And so we manage ourselves by meeting needs instead of being managed by ourselves and the negative thoughts of wondering what other people start to think about us. I want to live like that, don't you? If we live like that, if all of us choose to live like that today, we'll become trustable, we'll be trustworthy, we'll actually create communities that we all want to live in. Hey, thank you for listening for the Hands Free Drive to Work Facebook. I appreciate you very much. Put something in the comments. If you want to hear a specific topic, if you have questions, put them in the comments, and we'll actually address this as we keep moving forward. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Thank you for listening to the Hands Free Drive to Work.